Hello, welcome to Progress Theory. My name is Garrett. This video series, Growing from Rock Bottom, is my attempt to document my process of overcoming addiction, building positive momentum, and shifting my identity to the person I want to be. For anyone who hasn't watched any of these episodes, I'll give a very brief recap of what rock bottom looked like in my life. If you want the more in-depth story, I tell it with a lot more detail in my week 1 episode. But essentially, I'm 25 now. When I was 12 or 13, I started watching porn pretty much daily, compulsively. And over the course of about 6 years of completely unrestricted usage, I developed this very compulsive part of my personality that just pursued hedonistic stimulation and gratification. I just pursued pleasure and stimulation through any means that I could get access to. Porn was the worst behavior at the time, but it also branched into weed, video games, TV shows, YouTube videos, fast food, junk food, just a lot of different regressive behaviors. When I was 19, I started really trying to set huge goals and develop myself and grow into an impressive person. But I routinely failed to eliminate all of these behaviors. And I reached a point after failing over and over again where I kind of just gave up and spiraled into a really destructive multi-year period of pretty much consistent binging and shame spirals. I went completely broke and racked up a lot of debt, gained like 40, 50 pounds of fat, and became horrendously depressed and unmotivated. And my porn addiction escalated into compulsively visiting escorts, both trans and female, which was very shame-inducing and confusing for me, given my religious upbringing. And there was about a year where I was compulsively engaging with escorts and fighting the desire to kill myself. That was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I have definitely made a lot of progress since then. I have a lot of room left to go, but I am happy and proud of the progress I've made nonetheless. So the first thing I do in these videos is just go over my week usually. Right now I'm transitioning to monthly check-ins with these videos instead of weekly, so I'm going to go over the month in more depth than I normally would. So looking at the month as a whole, it was pretty good. And I think it's important for me to state, like, relative to the last couple months of my life, it's been very good. There's still a lot of room for improvement, and there's certain areas like work specifically that there's a lot of room for growth still. But when I'm looking at trajectory, I'm very happy with this month. So looking at it more specifically, with work input, I only worked 88 hours when the goal was 160, which is especially lackluster to me because 160 was a very low goal in my eyes. That was setting the bar low in order to guarantee achievement, and I really really failed to even hit that, which I'm not thrilled about. I'm not happy about by any means. But when I look at the month as a whole, I mean, the first 9 days or so I was on vacation, and so that isn't, I mean, I wasn't gonna work. I don't know why I didn't really account for that more. But then the week after that I only worked 14 hours. The week after that was 20, and then this last week has been 35. Those aren't great inputs, especially when I go back to last quarter when I was doing really well. The first quarter and this quarter, I was working 235 hours a month. I was pretty much consistently hitting 50 to 65 hours. And so when I compare it to that, it's not very good. But when I look at the trajectory of the hours per week are going up, especially when I look at the last 2 months when it was hovering at 13 hours consistently, 13 to 20. This is momentum being built. This is a positive trajectory. And especially given this last week, I hit 35 hours. Still not great. I mean, 55 is very achievable with consistency. The main difference between when I was hitting that many hours and now is I don't have a job that provides external structure. And that is something that is very beneficial for me at this point in my life. I struggle with self-discipline and with managing a workload when there's no sort of external pressure to work, and there's no direct consequences for not doing so. And moving forward, I've been working for about a year to unlock an opportunity that I think is about to come to fruition. And so I think both work input and finances are going to improve dramatically in the next month or two, especially given I'm already seeing myself kind of pull myself out of the rut and add more hours. Positive habits is one of the more important areas, or at least this is the area that provides me with a lot of pride and excitement looking at the month, because I surpassed every single goal. And doing so just makes me feel so much better about myself and about my life moving forward and my ability to do what I say I'm going to do and accomplish my goals, and to just build upon myself. And so I see direct benefits from doing each of these things specifically. But as a whole, I also just can tell I feel a lot better about myself and my ability to move forward successfully in life because I am succeeding in this area. And negative habits, overall, I would say is good. It's really good relative to the last couple months. I overcame 31 of 46 urges, which was 17% more than my goal. And when I'm looking at the last couple months, I was consistently hovering at like 5 of 44, 8 of 55. And so when that is the baseline I've been operating at for a while, 31 of 46 is really good. And even though I did surpass my goal for porn consumption and escorts texted by a pretty significant amount, those were very front-loaded. This pretty much week 1 and week 2, because the week 1 on the chart was only one day, is where almost all of that time came. It was 2 hours and then 11 escorts texted in the next week. And the first couple days of that week, 6 hours and 16 escorts texted. It was about a 5-day binge. And then I kind of picked myself up, had almost 2 weeks of success, or abstention from porn, and then I had a relapse that was about 40 minutes, and then a couple days later I had a relapse that was about 30 minutes, which I'm not thrilled about, but I'm trying to reframe as an opportunity and something that can be beneficial. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But when I look at the actual momentum I'm carrying into next month, I'm very excited. I think I'm doing better than these numbers generally make it appear, and I think I will see a lot of growth in the next month. I think my numbers will look more impressive and will better reveal growth next month because of the momentum I'm taking into it. So all that to say, one of the core things that I'm trying to work on incorporating into my life and focus on moving forward is reframing failure, and specifically failure when it comes to porn. I don't want this channel by any means, especially over time, to be focused on overcoming porn addiction or to be focused on porn specifically, because I think there is a lot more universal principles to addiction that are bigger than just porn. Just because porn is the addiction I struggle the most with does not mean it is the only addiction that causes destruction, obviously, but the only addiction I want to help people overcome. As a whole, with any sort of behavior that I consider regressive or destructive, my desire has always been complete abstention. I want to remove it from my life for good, indefinitely. And that desire does make sense, I think, when I look at the long-term effects of a behavior, especially a repeated behavior that has compounding consequences. If a behavior has a negative impact long term, there's no reason to ever engage with it. I don't value short-term reward the same way I value long-term reward, and I think the way I view that is maybe a little bit too black and white, but I think it is ultimately a lot more beneficial to focus on long-term reward at the cost of having to learn how to overcome and work through short-term impulses. And while I do think that it makes sense to try to limit behaviors that are rewarding short-term and have a lot of negative impact over the long term, my obsession with complete abstention and completely removing these behaviors, I think, is somewhat counterproductive and has contributed to my repeated failure. And I want to kind of draw out a graph to just illustrate this more effectively. So when I look at my life over the last 7 years, because I'm 25 now. When I was 18 is when I started getting very focused on growth and self-improvement. On this side, I am going to do just rate of growth. On this side, I'm going to do time and years. So start at 18, go to 25. Very, very crude graph for sure. This is obviously very general. If I took the time to really plot this out, it'd probably look different. But we'll say this is 0. This is maintenance of where I'm not worsening. And rate of growth is way too general of a term because there's physiological growth, intellectual growth, social growth, financial growth. There's all these different components of it. But if we put it into one conglomerative metric, we'll just say rate of growth for the sake of simplification. This is 0. Anything below this is regressing. Like I'm getting worse. I'm becoming a worse version of myself from the standpoint of tangible metrics. Anything above this is increasing. I think when I was 18, I was probably around here. And as I became focused on self-improvement, I started to go upwards, but I'd continually have these periods where I'd kind of binge and go off the deep end and waste days, months, usually not more than a month or two at a time. But my overall trajectory was improving. And I was seeing very clear results. I got in really good shape. I was reading a lot and just researching, studying, becoming significantly more knowledgeable about the world and how to operate within it to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And it felt really good. I felt like I was growing. It was very clear that I was growing in a lot of different important metrics. And then at 21 is when I just went off the deep end. I'd failed over and over again. And what's important is, even though I felt like I was growing, I, at the time, didn't, because I saw all these little drops as proof that I am a failure. Because if the goal is perfect abstention from porn, then every time I failed, it just reminded me of, like, I'm never going to be what I want to be. Like, I can't do this thing. I'm not growing at all because I keep going back to this behavior. So even though I was moving forward, I didn't believe I was, because I kept falling into these little binge cycles. And at the time, I had really high belief in my potential and where I was going to go moving forward. And that belief carried me. But as I failed over and over and over again, that belief eroded and reached a point where I had one big failure that turned into like 6 month binge period where I just went off the deep end, and I kind of picked myself up, and then it was another one, and just rapid regression for, I'd say, about 2 years. And it reached a point where I was kind of just hovering at the bottom. Like, I wasn't really getting substantially worse, but I was definitely under the maintenance metric, and I was just hovering there to where I was not operating effectively at all. My life was getting worse and worse because I was engaging in all these behaviors that had compounding negative effects. And since then, I've definitely started making some progress, but it's been slow. And I've spent about 50% of my time regressing. And to the point where if 50% of my time I'm moving forward and 50% of my time I'm regressing, I'm staying stagnant. And I'm staying stagnant at a rate of growth that is less than maintenance. And the realization I'm having in all of this is this: it's not the actual engagement with porn. Like, there's a substantial difference between 30 minutes of watching porn and 10 hours of watching porn over the course of a week. Just the same as, like, let's go to a clear extreme of heroin usage. If you use heroin one time a month, that's significantly different than using heroin every day. And it's my tendency to let one slip up that, yes, has a negative consequence, but does not need to lead to anything. Like, this slip up could just be this. But because I see that slip up as a sign of failure and as a sign that I will never achieve my goals, and this just shows how broken I am, and I'm so pathetic because I cannot stop engaging in this thing, that one slip up instead looks like that. And when I look at my life, I have obsessively chased. I have no idea how to use this effectively, so I'm just going to erase. I've obsessively chased 100% success with behavioral abstention, specifically with porn, but with weed and any behavior that I deem as universally problematic. I want it removed entirely. And the reality is what I really want removed is this tendency to go through a period where I build and then immediately burn it all down, and do that over and over again so that I'm staying completely stagnant over the long term. Because the difference between, I'm going to draw two more graphs. Same thing, rate of growth, time. This is 100% freedom from regressive behavior, and this is 90% freedom. The rate of growth at 100% freedom looks like this, for the most part. And this is obviously an oversimplification, but it looks like just upward trajectory, right? Like there's no periods where you're holding yourself back. You're just continually compounding rewards from positive behavior. The rate of growth at 90% is more like this. It's not as good. There are divots. There are divots that have an impact. You're not going to get as high at 90% as you are with 100, especially because compounding, that 10% matters significantly. It's not logarithmic. That 10% is going to have a more substantial effect than it appears to just off of the saying 10%. That doesn't sound as like it's as big of a deal as it actually is. But the reality that I am trying to accept and what I'm trying to incorporate into my life is, let's do this third graph where it is 50%. 50% of my time is spent growing and building, 50% of my time is spent regressing. Because I'm chasing 100% and my expectation is like I need to hit 100%, every time I have a slip up, every time I fail, in what could be a 30-minute period of engagement in a behavior that isn't good for me, but isn't going to completely destroy my life, that 30 minutes turns into months. And so I start growing and then I decline. I start growing and I decline. I start growing, I decline. I'm staying absolutely fucking stagnant because of it. 90% is substantially better than 50. If my obsession with hitting 100% is the reason that I'm stuck at 50, because every time I fail, because I'm a human being fighting years of programming, I immediately fall into a shame spiral of destructive binging that completely erodes any positive momentum I've created. I'm just staying stagnant. Where if I instead am like, if I can just get my porn consumption to 10% of what it has been in the past, like when I look at my numbers of 10 hours a month, if I can get that down to an hour a month or 2 hours a month, I am mitigating the compounding effect of that behavior, so that, yes, it's not going to be the same as if I could 100% abstain, but I'm actually going to create compounding progress over time. And it will be substantially better than just staying stagnant at 50%, because I'm so obsessed with perfect achievement of this goal that I collapse into self-destruction and self-loathing anytime I fail. And so when I'm looking at my relapses right now, if I relapse, that is an opportunity to fail and not collapse, because that is my tendency. Like one 30-minute period, which could just be one 30-minute period, turns into a week of binging and regression, or a month of binging and regression, or a year of binging and regression. And if I can train myself to be able to pick myself up immediately and look at the dichotomy in front of me of, I can either do the thing that feels uncomfortable and difficult and face the consequences and feel immediately better like tomorrow because of it, and reduce the suffering I experience dramatically, or I can give in to the impulse to do one more immediately gratifying, comforting, pleasurable thing to cover up the shame and the sadness and the anger and self-loathing I feel, and to not have to deal with the consequences and then compound them 100 times over. If I can get to 95%, my life will be so much better, and that 95% is enough. And I think, funny enough, I also think relinquishing my obsession with 100% success and with perfection in this specific area of growth I also think I will dramatically improve my likelihood of getting there one day, to where there probably will be a point if I can master the ability to pick myself up and derive the lesson from my experience and immediately jump back into uh, a healthy way of being instead of just collapsing and self despair and self pity and self loathing. Then there will probably be a point where I watch porn for the last time or whatever other destructive behavior I'm engaging in. It will probably be the end. So all that to say, those two uh, relapses at the end of the month, I honestly am happy about, because I relapsed and made good choices afterwards. I handled it with compassion and acceptance, and did not use it as an excuse to hate myself or beat myself up. And immediately sought to make a healthy, grounding choice after, instead of doing something for the sake of running away from the emotions and the consequences of that failure. And that feels really good. And I think that is a step in a really important direction for me. So moving forward in the next month, I'm aiming to step up the effort and increase work input and finances as a direct result of work input. Keep up the momentum with the positive habits, and also keep up and improve upon the momentum that I am starting to build with the reduction of negative habits. And the main improvement, the main thing I am trying to focus on this month is what I've been talking about. Of when there are failures, reframe them properly and see them as opportunities to fail without psychological collapse. Because I think that is a very important step in my overall growth at this point. So yeah, that is my month 4 of growing from rock bottom. I'm excited about the momentum that is being built, and I'm excited to see what this next month looks like. If you took the time to watch this, I very much appreciate any attention that you have given me. I value it a lot. You are one of a few at this point in time, so I appreciate you listening to me ramble about myself, and I hope that you were able to get something out of it that might help make your life a little better as well. And so I wish you all the growth you're looking for, and with this series specifically, until next month.